The first phase of a court-martial often starts before a court-martial even begins, and that's when a service member is under investigation. A service member can be under investigation in a whole host of different ways. The military has worldwide jurisdiction over any service member. So regardless of whether a service member is stationed at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida, or if they're stationed in Osan in South Korea, the military is going to have jurisdiction over them. However, other law enforcement agencies may also have concurrent jurisdiction as well. And so it's really important to understand who is actually investigating you. For example, if you commit misconduct in Tampa, Florida, you may be investigated by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, or maybe it's the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. They may be investigating you, and there may be a concurrent investigation by the military as well. They are separate entities because the military is a federal law enforcement agency and the state is a state law enforcement agency. Also, while you're overseas, you may be investigated by the international authorities, such as the Korean law enforcement agencies, or you may be investigated by the Polizei if you're stationed in Germany. Or you may be investigated by the military as well. And they are not exclusive. You can be investigated by both. What will often happen is if you're under investigation by a state agency and you do not meet the threshold for prosecution, because in my experience, the state courts have a much higher threshold for prosecution than the military, they will turn the case over to the military. So what happens all the time, and this happened commonly in Hawaii in particular, because you have so many service members stationed there, is you'll have the state Honolulu Police Department. They will not take a case, or they will decide not to prosecute a case, and they will turn it over to CID, NCIS, OSI, who will take the lead, and then they will be investigating. So many cases start out where you're being investigated by a state entity or even a foreign entity. They decide not to take the case, and then it's turned over to OSI, CID, or NCIS. Now, once NCIS, CID, or OSI has the case, and those acronyms are just stands for, in the Air Force, it's OSI, the Office of Special Investigations. In the Marine Corps and the Navy, they have NCIS. You may have seen that on the TV show, but it's the Naval Criminal Investigative Services, NCIS. And in the Army, it's CID, or the Criminal Investigative Division. And the Marine Corps and Navy also have a CID, but they typically handle lower level offenses. Those are the main bodies that are going to be investigating you. And as I've talked about in other videos, these are well-trained federal law enforcement agents. Oftentimes, they are former law enforcement agents on the federal side and move over to the military. They can be civilian, or they can be uniformed service, or they can be a mix of both. If that investigating agency is investigating you, the advice I give every service member almost across the board is don't make a statement. Don't say anything to law enforcement. Don't turn over your phone. Don't consent to searches. Don't consent to seizures. And if you're under investigation, you need to retain counsel or go see the free legal counsel immediately so they can walk you through the investigation, because every investigation is unique, because you're not going to be investigated the same way for a sexual assault as you would be for a fraud case. And the way these investigations are conducted, again, is very unique, and need to be able to have someone that can walk you through how to best protect yourself while you're under investigation.